And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big Sean McCarthy.
Well, hello and welcome to the Weighing In podcast, where we have had a fairly relaxing weekend, but we did have the PFL that took place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We will talk a little bit about that. Maybe not. Who knows? Because my man, the real Punk, has important things to talk about. Super important things. Start talking, Josh.
Start talking. OnlyFans right here, brought to you by OnlyFans. This show is brought to you by OnlyFans. We have partnered up with them again, so make sure you guys join us over there. We're having some fun over there, man, on that side of the platform. So it is free. Subscribe to us over there and get some extra content from us.
Did you? I saw this today. Some girl made $43 million on OnlyFans last year or this year.
That's pretty common. I mean,
$43 million, Josh?
Not common. What I'm saying, though, what's that? It's possible.
How stupid are men?
No. Bro, I'm trying to figure out how to take pictures of my girl's feet to put them up there.
Oh, Jesus
some money. Let's go. Oh, no, I have two girlfriends that live in California, and they do the feet thing for OnlyFans and for other websites that are feet fetish. And they're making $28,000 to $35,000 a month.
Have they not seen Boomerang?
Yeah, but those aren't the feet they're posting, man. They're not the feet they're posting.
Oh,
so, look, whatever. However,
there is not a foot out there that I would pay to see.
No, but see, John,
not one.
I would agree with you 100%. But when you have a fetish, you have a fetish. You know, whatever gets your rocks off, baby. Like, get it. Hey, look.
No, not whatever. But you know, if it's feet, go ahead. I don't know.
Oh, gotcha. Well played. Well played. I love how you fixed me on that one. That was
okay.
Good. Man, it just look, when we started doing our stuff with OnlyFans, I know we got a lot of backlash, but people have to remember we were the first podcast they ever worked with, and we were the first one, period, ever. So we still work with them. We've been working with them for about 2.5 years now. The relationship with them has been great. They've been a great company to work with. They give us free. They give us the ability to do whatever we want. They're like, look, just don't make it weird. And I'm okay. Well, that's saying something to us, right? Like,
there you go.
You know, like you're not like OnlyFans, you know, like, and they're like, no, you guys have free reign to do whatever you want. You know, they're like, we just recommend, you know, that you guys try to keep it as best you can, like not to get into the, like, you know, people just get into weird stuff. And so anyways, but no, they've been great, man. The partnerships are great. Like I said, we talk about this all the time, but I guess a good way to get into it and the segue into it is like DJ's on there, Stipe's on there. These are family men. This is not something where if you subscribe to us, you will not see any other smut on your page. It will not come up on your homepage unless you are subscribed to one of those other people. And that's on you. And the wink, wink, I know. But
as George is going,
yeah, none of it will come up. So unless you're subscribed to any of
that was one of the things that changed my mind about everything.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have that algorithm where they're trying to force something onto someone. You know, if you don't want that, you will not get that.
Yep. And that was the easiest part for us, right? It was like when we started having these conversations, like we don't have an algorithm. Our algorithm is like you guys create your own. So whoever follows you, whoever you follow and whoever follows you, that's all they're gonna see. And I was like, okay, that made it a little bit easier for us. So now, like if I need to give my girl my phone and be like, here, you want to take a look through my OnlyFans? There's no girls on there's no creepy on there, so I don't have to worry about it. So look, if you get busted, you know, following us and your girl looks on your thing for OnlyFans and you got other stuff, that's on you, man. That ain't on us.
I mean, you slid.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. They've sponsored pro surfers. They sponsor CrossFitters. They sponsor Formula One racers. They sponsor a lot of MMA guys, boxers. You know, they sponsor the PFL. They were sponsoring. They had offered to sponsor, John and I know this story, to work with Bellator before they started sponsoring PFL. CBS kind of shit the bed on that and lost, you know, millions of dollars. And that's one of the reasons why they end up selling their whole organization to PFL. Is, you know, when they had sponsors coming in, for some reason, they just thought they were above it and they just started turning money away, millions and millions of dollars of it. And they weren't the only one. There was plenty of other sponsors that they had that were on the hook too, that just for some reason were seen to be going towards boxing, but never made its way into Bellator, which I know originally they were offering to start with Bellator.
Come on, you know what it was.
Yeah, we know exactly. I think people know. Conor McGregor knows too. But it was a really weird situation, and but yeah. Anyways, but look, one of the things that I've worked with them is they've been easy to work with. They're great partners. They allow us to have creativity. All of our creative stuff that we do is that's on our own. So we enjoy our partnership with them, and it's been awesome. Looking forward to doing this for even longer, more than just the 2.5 years that we've been working with them. So if you guys can subscribe to us over there, John and I are trying to come up with ways right now to get his referees program on there. I've actually been talking with Miss McCarthy more so than John, because John has no idea about this. So I've been working with her more on how to try to get it on there so people can, and so you guys don't have to worry about like showing up in Las Vegas or in wherever, Canada, or wherever you can, to try to get certified. But
you know where my next one's going to be?
Where?
American Top Team. Down in Coconut Creek.
Florida. When is it?
You want to go?
I would love to go. Well, it depends on the date, buddy. I've got so much soccer stuff.
February.
Cross. Okay,
February. Basically like the start of the second week of February.
Okay. Give me the exact dates. I think soccer doesn't start back up until March, end of February, I think. But Kellen's got nationals. He's on the national team for lacrosse for his club. And so we've got
Dude, hold on.
We got a couple.
I just want to say this. Josh doesn't know I'm going to say this. He sent me some plays of his son. I loved it. He was running people over. Damn it! I was so proud of him.
He's not a big kid, but he plays like
dude, he's a tough little bastard. I love him. He is definitely the punk son. He was laying some people out.
Oh, he plays like he's 6 foot, but he's tiny. He's like one of the smallest kids on his team, and
didn't matter.
Hilarious. I think it's hilarious.
Didn't matter. He was looking good.
Yeah, he works hard. I'm happy for him, man. We're gonna come up to this decision where, on the Dad Dojo, we've been talking a lot about how we try to. In Texas, you have to make your kids choose sooner rather than later.
Don't do it.
You say no, John.
Don't do it.
But then they won't be able to play in high school because these kids have already started choosing. They play one sport right now.
See, it's so
they won't
wrong.
make the high school teams. They won't make the club teams.
It's the new thing within kids sports and stuff, but it's so wrong. Because Josh,
yeah,
I mean, I did everything. I played every goddamn sport.
Different time.
I know it is.
They were athletes. They're athletes now. We weren't athletes back then.
I was waiting for that one to come. Seriously though, man,
I fall into that category, my friend. I played everything. Now these guys are just look at the MMA is it shows you just how good these athletes are now compared to when we first started.
Oh, look at athletes throughout time have only gotten better. People can sit there and say what they want about this person in the past, and they were great in their time, but that doesn't mean that they can compete with the athletes of today. Not at least not in the same status as far as where they were at. It's just, there's a couple that I could kind of put out there. Look, Lawrence Taylor could still play today in the NFL, and he would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. But he was way ahead of everybody.
I think some golfers would be able to play. I think a lot of the golfers would be able to play now.
I don't think so.
Technology of the golf club.
I don't think so because of this fact. Hold on. Look at Jack Nicklaus was great. He was phenomenal. Okay. But you take a look at old golfers, and all of them were out of shape as an athlete. And as that golf game went on into the second round and the third round, especially the fourth, you saw a lot of them falling off. They were falling off because they were getting tired. They were getting worn out. And today, those golfers are in shape. Those golfers are guys that they, because it was a big thing. Oh, yes, they have to walk, and everything. And they should walk the course.
Oh, absolutely.
But today, Tiger Woods is the one that really started kind of doing the working out and, being an athlete. And you look at all of them today. Except for what's his name, Santa Claus. I can't think of his name. He used to hit
John Daly.
John Daly. They're all athletes now.
Yeah.
They're not. These guys are slim. Yep, in shape. It's a different game.
I would agree with you. Sorry, you stopped your sentence right when I was taking a drink. Thanks. Like the
you're welcome.
Up in your middle of the bite. Good job, John.
I was just trying to throw you off the cliff.
Yeah.
I'm sure if those old golfers had some element in their system,
Might
they
help.
would be able to walk 18 holes easy.
That's right. That's right. They need to know.
Good point,
See?
George.
You guys can use the link of Element down below in the descriptions. Every purchase you guys get, it gets you a bonus package of extra products. So you guys can check it out. Sometimes they'll send you a free hat. Sometimes they'll send you a free shirt, but they'll also give you a bonus package of products. So check that out. Link down below in the descriptions.
Yeah, do it, John Daly.
John Daly. Look,
Daly will just mix his with just a little bit of alcohol.
This is what I think. I think that athletes, if you wanted to become if you wanted like a Michael Jordan, sure, they were all great at basketball. I think Kobe Bryant, great at basketball. Football players, I think, have always ran track because that helps with their speed, their agility, all those things, explosiveness on being able to play football. And they offset the seasons. So one goes, you have, one during the fall, and then track is normally during the spring, which is kind of a segue to getting you in shape for the fall ball of football. So certain sports complement each other, but I think growing up to play as many sports as you possibly can is what makes you a good athlete in all situations.
Right.
So I do agree with you. The thing is Texas, it seems to be a lot different. A lot of these parents are having their kids specialize. I mean, Kellen's whole national team for lacrosse, pretty much that's all they play is lacrosse. And there's not even a high school team. It's a club team amongst 5 high schools. So if you don't make that club team amongst those 5 or 6 high schools of athletes,
you don't play.
You don't make it. You don't play. Yeah. And if you don't make that club team,
after watching your son on the little clips you sent me, he's gonna make the team.
He'll be good. He'll be good.
Gonna make the team.
My concern is, I know there's small guys that play lacrosse. It's just there's a lot that can happen between now 10 years old and in high school. Obviously.
First off, what makes you think your son's gonna be small?
I don't know yet.
Just because you are
long legs. I never had long legs. Yeah, I have a long I have a long torso. He's got long legs, and I'm like, and he's got kind of a long torso too. So he might be tall. I'm hoping he's 6 foot. I always was so mad I was never 6 foot. My dad was 6'1". I've got uncles that are 6'3", 6'4", and 6
I think it's like anything, man. You want what you don't have.
Yeah, I've been loading them down with zinc and magnesium because I heard that makes you taller. I'm like, yo, kid, take this.
Have you seen those damn operations some people do on their legs? It is
John,
nasty.
John.
No,
I'm thinking about it, buddy.
Do your shit, please.
I'm gonna run into all my old friends like, how'd you grow? It's genetics. Just I got a late growth spurt. Look, you know what we're gonna do for the show today is we're gonna come through the PFL. We're gonna talk that fight promotion and the events and the fights that took place there, and then we're gonna go into the Q&A because I know George popped up the Q&A yesterday. I think we got about 40 questions. Some of them are like multiple questions within one. I think people pushed out like 6 or 7 questions into one. But George's gonna go ahead and do his due diligence. We'll try to get to as many of those as possible. We're gonna give you guys a solid amount of time, I think, today. And work with you guys on this. So
don't worry about John having to get up early and drive and everything. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that. Whatever we can get to, whatever we can't get to tonight, I'll try to have Podcast Dave maybe try to revisit on Tuesday nights live because I think those will be still available. Will those still be available, George? I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So we'll maybe have Podcast Dave try to revisit those on Tuesday night for the Tuesday Night Live. So don't miss us. Tuesday night at 9:30 Eastern time, we will be doing the show. It is live, so don't miss it. You guys can watch it afterwards, but it's better to catch us live so I can talk trash to you guys in the comment section. It's the best part of my night. It really is. It really is. Okay, outside of that, let's go ahead and jump right into the main event, man. The Khizriev versus Brendan Loughnane.
Look, this was, I will give it. I thought the PFL actually had for their championship series, the fights really paid off. There was some really good fights, people with finishes. It was clear who were the better fighters, on the night. The only one that went to a decision was their main event. And it was only because of the toughness of Brendan Loughnane. Brendan Loughnane went out there. But he went out there as a boxer. He could not figure out the timing and speed, and the speed was the difference. Timur is a fast fighter. We've seen him too many times. We saw him when he came in to Bellator. He is exceptionally fast as far as with his hands. He's very relaxed. He's smooth. He throws good combinations, and he backs it up with great wrestling when he wants. So he puts you in a position where you're always worried about, is he going to shoot? And a lot of times he doesn't because he likes to be in the stand-up. And he just systematically broke down Brendan Loughnane. He just systematically picked him apart to the point he diminished him. And it was just a matter of when he wanted to put him on the ground, he would put him on the ground. Brendan's wrestling is not bad now, but it wasn't good enough to stop Khizriev, and man, you just look, and this is a kid that came from Bellator that the PFL picked up, and they picked up a good one because the guy can fight. He's undefeated now at 18-0, and the future is bright for Timur.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of the best fighters on the roster for Bellator.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
That being said, when he came over from Bellator, he was a prelim fighter.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to take anything away from him. We've always said that he was fantastic. He's one of those
knew how
guys.
good he was going to be.
Yeah, we knew. Yeah, you could tell after watching his first 2 fights. His first fight was like, okay, it seemed like just kind of a give me fight. He just was working through to like I can't remember who he fought his first fight in, but man, he was fantastic. I'm like, I didn't see enough. It made it look
fight.
so easy.
Man, I'm thinking his first fight in Bellator was Daniel Weichel. I think that was his first fight.
Good fight. Damn.
Yeah, that's a tough dude.
Yeah. But the Daniel was that his retirement fight? Daniel Weichel.
It was right at the end.
It was like kind of towards the end of his.
But Weichel's a guy that had over 50 fights. I mean,
yes,
it's not like
very true.
You're putting a kid that had maybe 12 fights at that time in against him.
Yep. But then you got to remember the guys that he beat on the way up, right? So Daniel Weichel was his first fight in Bellator. Then he beat Richie Smolin. Then he beat Justin Gonzalez. Then he beat Brett Johns. Then he beat Barzola. Then he beat Braga. Like he is just finding his way. He keeps upping his competition. But for me, he was just somebody that the speed is there. The feints are there. Sure, he can wrestle. You see the way he wrestles. He mixes it up. He goes high crotch, goes right into the head in the center. Then he goes to lift, can't get it, circles out to the back, locks the hand, sags you down, hangs on you, makes you tired. A little bit of that Habib against the fence, even though it's not Habib. I'm saying that has more of that style a little bit.
No, it's got the same style as far as
very similar.
The rest,
style.
He puts a lot. People sometimes don't understand when someone is locked their hands and they're dragging and they're sagging. You see them kind of driving forward. There's a ton of weight that you're holding up on that, trying to stay up, and it's a pressure that is hard to explain until someone is doing it to you. And everyone's got a different pressure, and he's obviously got that pressure where it is a devastating amount of pressure pushing you forward and making you work hard to counter what he's doing.
Yep. And just the way they sag on that leg, they hang on that side, forearm goes across across the quad, under that upper thigh kind of area, and just really trying to break you down, sit you back to your knee. He does a great job of that. But what I felt like that night was against Loughnane was it was the feints and the speed advantage that really gave Brendan some problems.
Yeah.
It was a lot of the feinting. He didn't know whether he was shooting or whether he was punching. And after the first round, Brennan was all bloodied up. His face was all red. He looked like he already. Yeah, he was confused. Nothing was coming out the way the speed was not coming out. He couldn't get anything going. It's like, what do I do? Do I box? If I kick, I'm going to get taken down. If I throw knees, I'm going to get taken down. So it wasn't there, man. He just didn't have the timing. He was, like you said, confused. But Khizriev is just one of those guys that he can do everything. He's got confidence. He's 29 years old. He's got another, 3, 4, 5 years left in the tank of just pushing pace. And I mean, like in this weight class, I'm just going through it. I'm like, I don't know of who's going to really be able to beat him. Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, he's that good. He can fight with anybody right now.
Yeah. I know that he's coming off of a loss and he was fighting at 55, but I've always said this. I felt like AJ McKee should have stayed at 45.
I'm not sure he could.
I don't know if he can now.
Physically, I think he was just growing out of that weight class.
Got it.
He was losing so much weight, and it was starting to affect his ability to actually, compete in that weight class without getting tired, and that was a problem. So I think, when you're 25, it's easier to cut the weight. When you're 26, it gets a little more. 27 gets a little more, and he's up in the 28s, and just got to a point it was too much.
I don't know, man. I was like almost 40, still cutting weight.
Yeah, but you were in that position where you were in that sweet spot for what you did.
Yeah.
He was losing. You got to figure AJ was walking around at 170 pounds and going down to 145. You were 170 pounds going to 155.
Yeah. Yeah. I made 43 one time, and that was the worst because I was walking at 168, 169 when I made that weight for Kid Yamamoto. And it took me probably a good 2 months to get my weight back to normal. To the weight class that, back to where I was normally fighting at. Dakota Ditcheva versus Tyler Santos.
you got to give it up for Dakota.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you what, we see we looked and as the whole season started, we kind of was like, man, why you look at it, you're putting her in, these fights where it's a give me, it's a given who's going to win this. Let's see what she does when she really goes up against the true competition there. And look, she made Santos look normal. And this is a person that went 5 rounds with Shevchenko, and a lot of people thought she beat her. And man, she didn't. She may have won 5 seconds. Of the fight that there was. It was in the second round that it stopped, but it was a third round. I don't know.
A second.
But I mean, Dakota, her striking is impressive. It's straight. It's got snap to it. Her kicks, her teeps up the middle are on target and they're timed well. Her knees when she throws them, and you saw when she hasn't had the ability to throw elbows. When she was throwing elbows, she was lighting Santos up in the stand up with elbows. She's the real deal. Santos was able to get her down to the ground. She popped right back up. She just did everything right. And you look and you go, hey, this is a young lady who at 14-0 now she's special. She's good. At 125, you can sit there and say what you want. I'd love to see a Dakota Ditcheva against, Alexa Grasso.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that fight, just because it would be an interesting, because they're both good on the feet. They both have gotten much better as far as the ground and what they're doing. I just think that she's the future of the flyweight weight class. She's really good.
Yeah, I got to eat a little bit of crow because my verdict on her was not out. It still wasn't out yet.
No,
and the reason
I can
why it
understand
wasn't
that.
out was because they gave, and you look, I knew it was a good promotional move by them. They gave her the easy road to the finals.
But is it? Because now, let's be honest. You gave her that easy road. Now she might have taken the tough road and still won.
Yeah.
But you gave her that easy, and now, you got to hold on to her. Are you going to be able to? Because she's going to want what now? A lot of money.
Kayla Harrison money.
Yeah, exactly. And so this, but this is what, sometimes, promotions get into this, they keep on, marketing and pushing and they're doing a great job of helping the fighter until the fighter goes, I don't need you anymore. And
Okay.
she's right in that. I don't know how many fights she has on her contract, but she's right in that position.
Okay, but that's the problem with the PFL format. Until they get away from this type of format, it's not going to really make a difference. They're going to continue to lose their fighters because, look, eventually someone younger, someone a little bit better is going to come into the tournament and beat them. They're like, okay, look, I'm done making my millions. Now I can go and fight somewhere else in the UFC or some other promotion where I can, try to get a little bit more money and not have to fight 4 times all back to back to back. This is a great format for people, like you said, that are up and comers, younger fighters that want to make the weight or can make the weight all the time. Or older fighters that just are always kind of within that range of making the weight. They may not want to fight as often, but they also know that, look, I'm on the way out. Let me just give it a shot at trying to cash out one last time before I go. I understand there's a bunch of different ways that you can play this. I just see that fighters like Dakota Ditcheva, who just beat Tyler Santos, who, like you said, fought Shevchenko, very tough, all of these other things. There's not a lot of people for her. She still has Juliana Velasquez to fight. She still has Liz Carmouche to fight. She still has, maybe like 1 or 2 other fighters in the female division to fight. But those fighters are in Bellator. Maybe they'll make their way over to PFL like they have, like Carmouche did and Juliana Velasquez. Those fights would be fun and interesting. I don't know how they would go. Dakota obviously would probably be the favorite now in those fights after what she did to Santos. But I'm simply saying I've got to eat some crow because I didn't have the verdict out on her yet. And watching her fight, I was like, wow, she made it look easy.
Boy, she did.
Everything she did, she made it look easy. Confidence is at an all-time high. But let's just give credit where credit is due. American Top Team, in their females, man, they know how to produce them. I mean, let's just be honest. They do a fantastic job. Like, Joanna Jacek, who's a big training partner or supporter or help trains with her, Dakota Ditcheva. Like, there's a lot of knowledge being shared back and forth. Mike Brown being there, just that. Mike Brown is one of the best coaches, if not the best.
Yeah, you got to give credit to Marcus Silveira.
Absolutely.
Conan. He's the guy that has really he's been the one in her corner. He's her main coach, and he's done a fantastic job in bringing her along.
Beautiful. Which is funny because he's such a big guy and she's
I know.
not a big person.
Nope.
So, but good for her. Good on over. I don't know how they're going to continue. Look, they've been doing it right now. They've been fumbling the bag on these fighters. How do you do something like this where she's now successful? You just paid her a lot of money because she won the tournament. How do you keep her? How do you keep these fighters happy without giving them super fights? Look at that. I could turn around and say, hey, you can fight now Liz Carmouche for the Bellator title, and that can be considered like a super fight, even though Liz lost to Santos. You can still, there's fights that you can kind of build around that. How do you do that now? There's no excitement right now for that.
No, there's not. And you sit there and say that, but as far as what you're hearing, what I'm hearing is Bellator doesn't have long to be around.
No.
So it's like, so you're going to try to, you can't put her in on the next, card. That's only a month away, basically. Mm-hmm. Well, 2 months, I guess, if you're going to look at it. But I don't know. I just looking at it's going to be tough. That's why I said, you did all this marketing on this young lady, and I don't blame you. She's good. She definitely did. And she took what you created as far as that marketing, and she made everyone realize, oh, it's true. She performed the way that you want, that star to perform. She was smart in how she did it. She destroyed every fighter. You got to figure she didn't have any decisions. In this tournament, she stopped every person that was put in front of her. Now, some of them I didn't think were tough competition. A couple of them were tough competition. Yeah. So I give her credit. She just looked fantastic, and she proved herself. And if you're the PFL, it is one of those, sometimes what's really good ends up being something that can be really bad for you. And it's just part of the promotional game.
Yeah. Next fight, Yagshimuradov versus Impa Kasanganay.
Well, I tell you, this is one of those fights where, looking at it, you and I talked about it, and I thought it would be a tough fight for Impa as far as the first 3 rounds. I thought Dovlet is a guy that's got fast hands. He's got a lot of spinning attacks. He's got good wrestling. You have to be a really good wrestler and put him in bad positions to get him down. He's a tough guy to take down. And ever since he went to American Top Team, here we go again, because they got a couple of belts going on the wall now. He has improved from the guy that I saw, because I refereed him early on in his career when he was at ACB, and just becoming the champion there. And I said, hey, the guy's good. He's got some holes. He's kind of small for 205 as far as his frame compared to other guys, but he's got big legs, strong. And the thing that separates him, he's fast. And, the whole thing with Impa is, well, Impa's kind of fast too, because he's really a 185 pounder, that's, kind of blown up to 205, and he's done very well there. I thought Impa had the advantage when it came to the cardio. He gets stronger as the fight goes. Dovlet tends to kind of, sag off a little bit. He gets a little tired, doing a lot of those spinning attacks and stuff. But I knew that Impa was going to have a hard time in the first couple rounds.
Yeah.
And when he tried to, it was obviously in his game plan. They wanted him to stay away from distance. They didn't want him in that kicking distance. They wanted him stepping inside and kind of, making a dirty, ugly, nasty fight. But Dovlet shines there. Yagshimuradov is not, he's not one of those just, I'm a technical guy. He's a tough dude. And he will throw uppercuts on the inside. He throws a beautiful left hook. He just caught him. And when you get caught, you get hit by someone that's got some power, and Yagshimuradov has got power. Yeah. That was kind of the end for Impa.
I feel like a story of my career was always to try to make sure that I didn't get into firefights early in the fight where both guys were fresh. Sure, you can get them out of there, but I feel like I was always playing a 50-50 game. And I look at Impa and I think to myself, in this situation, you cannot decide to go into a firefight right from the beginning. He hit him with a good shot, had Yags kind of backing up a second. But in the exchange, Yags was backwards to the fence, and he threw a couple good shots, and 2 of them landed. Bink, and made Impa start to stagger a little bit. Yep. And then after that, it was
jumped on him.
Why both guys are still fresh. Well, one's obviously crippled now from getting hit. The other one is still fresh enough to really put together a flurry. And I always thought to myself, why take the chance, knowing that, look, as this fight goes on, I've got more I've got more experience in these later rounds. This is my promotion kind of thing because I was always fighting in San Jose, whereas I feel like Impa, this is his promotion. He was the champion last year, had a good fight against Johnny Eblin, who many thought Johnny should have walked through of, and he made it a tough knockdown, drag-out fight. Now at 205, back in the finals, at the 205-pound division, fighting Yags. And Yags, he's known for his spinning attacks. I would have fought the fight a little bit differently, try to drag Yags into the deeper waters, knowing that, look, we've seen him in the past slow down in rounds 2 and 3 in a 3-round fight. You get him into into the later rounds, into a 4 and 5, he could potentially start to run away with this fight. Why get into a firefight early in the fight, knowing this guy's got power in the hands? He's known for his big overhand right. He's also known for his spinning kicks, and he's really quick with those head kicks. Whether they're spinning or not, he gets them up there fast.
Yep.
He's got good takedown defense, especially early in the fight. As the fight goes on, he can tend to lose them here and there by throwing lazy kicks. Take the chance later on. I just thought it was a bad game plan. Like, you've got to go in with this game plan of not getting into this slugfest with someone like him in the first round and a half. Then as the fight carries on, now start working more inside of that. Make him fight when he doesn't want to fight, when he's backing up. Game plan is so important. And, John, I was sitting there watching these fights, and I was thinking to myself, how many fans are at home just going, man, this guy's got to do this guy's got to do that, but they have no concept of like the techniques that are involved in this. And that's kind of like when people come to our channel, I want them to realize I'm going to try to give you guys a little more information on what I saw out of this fight. And that to me was one of those situations where just a bad game plan. I know you can get caught up in these fights like a Max Holloway with 10 seconds left. Let's point at the ground. That's Max Holloway, man. Like, in 10 seconds, if that's what he wants to do, and at the end of a 5-round fight, have at it, my man. I'm not going to tell you no. But in this fight, you have 5 rounds to go.
Yeah, that time.
Yeah, you're literally like, it just didn't make sense to get in there with a guy that has fast hands, quick head kicks, spinning attacks, and could wrestle a little bit to get inside the pocket and try to bang it out with him. And Impa was looking like he was controlling the tempo of the fight. He had Yags' back foot on the back fence. He looked like he was going to be able to start kind of setting the tempo of the fight, and decided to take it one step further, and it cost him the fight.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense to me. And that to me goes back to fight IQ. But on top of that, of knowing what you're working with, what's your skill level comparison to his? I would say that Yags has got better striking in terms of what he does well, the overhand rights, the head kicks, the spinning attacks. He's better at that. Also, too, Impa's not a huge 205 pounder. Neither is Yags, but he seemed a little physically bigger. He seemed a little bit physical. I don't know if I'd say stronger, but his power in his hands seemed a little bit more than Impa's. And it showed right off the first couple big shots that Yags landed that Impa couldn't take him. So I look at that and I think to myself, it goes back to game planning. It goes back to understand what you're good at. It goes back to knowing that you're considered to be a cardio king, as Sean O'Connell would call him, especially at the 205-pound division.
Yeah.
I would have followed that process of, hey, this is my game plan. This is what we worked on. This is what we're going to do. I would have followed that until that shit wasn't working in round 3 or 4. Then I would have changed it.
Yeah.
Shamil Musaev versus Magomed Umalatov.
Umalatov. Man, I'll tell you what, we had talked about Musaev, and I have felt that he's, from the moment I saw, I'd seen him fight a couple times just in clips when he was with M1 Global, and it was like, okay, kid can fight. Then I saw him actually fight at KSW, and that's when I knew this guy's good. This guy, he can wrestle, and he's got good hands. He's got power in his hands. And man, going in, I think Umalatov was the favorite going into this fight.
It shocked me, to be honest.
I was absolutely surprised because Musaev has just proven that he is just a beast when it comes to the fight game. His wrestling is so good. He does things that other guys don't do with his wrestling. Mm-hmm. There's some slick moves that this guy gets into, and the way he takes the back at time. His stand-up, he's got power. You could see he hit Umalatov a couple of times, and Umalatov, you took a couple steps back, and you could see, oh, that's got snap to it. That hurt. And it just kept building in that, and then finally he was able to hit him with shots to put him away. I am incredibly impressed with Musaev, and I don't know, if he's going to end up entering the PFL's tournament again to do that, or what they're going to do with him. But man, I'll tell you what, in the welterweight division, they have got a really solid fighter in Musaev.
Well, Umalatov was also undefeated as well walking into that fight.
I know.
And then I believe the last guy that Shamil fought had only had one loss, correct? Who was
Well,
the
that's
last guy
because
he fought?
he fought him the first time and beat him when he was undefeated.
Yeah, he fought
He's got 2 losses.
Rabadanov.
Yeah.
He's
The
got
2 losses.
to the same guy. Yes.
Ramzanov, yeah.
So I mean, there's guys. Look, Musaev is tough. You know what's funny is I wonder, like a guy like him. We were just talking about how the PFL is able to keep some of their talent. He's undefeated. Just won the tournament. He walked through it, pretty much making it look easy. The first
he
fight
made it look easy.
with Ramazanov,
Logan Storley.
It was good. It was a good fight. That was close, wasn't it? Wasn't the first fight?
No, he knocked Logan Storley out.
Not Logan. No, Ramazanov.
That was the second fight.
Second fight was the decision. But yeah, I look at that. I look at him and I'm thinking to myself, look, if I'm Musaev, outside of a big time fight, who's the champ of Bellator at 170?
Right now?
Yeah.
It's a Dagestani guy. He beat Jeremy Jackson. I mean, Jason
He beat
Jackson.
Jeremy Jackson. You're
Jason
right.
Jackson.
Not Jeremy Jackson, Jason Jackson.
That's what I said. I've lost it. He's undefeated also.
Yeah, he is undefeated. I mean, there's that fight that you could try to make for a Bellator title, but then what do? Do you make it even for a Bellator title? But this is what I go back to. You need to look, make it all PFL. We've talked about this. But then if you want to start making these fights, the winner of your tournament now fights for that PFL world title. This is a tournament title. I don't consider this a world title. It goes away next year. It's a tournament title. It's like when I play.
It is a tournament title.
Yeah, they're trying to make it. It's a world title, John.
Well,
when they announce it, it's world title. You can't
say it's. You can't say it's a. It's hard to say it's a world title when in the next year you don't say that that's the world champion.
No, you strip them of it.
Yeah, basically.
You strip them of it, and then they enter.
They're not stripping them of the title because it was a tournament title. It really was.
I know, but then
it's a tournament that you're winning, and
you can't call it a world title then. And I think that you can have if you can have Jason, not Jason Jackson, the guy who beat Jason Jackson. I forget his name.
Ramazan Kuramagadov.
Okay.
He's at Extreme Couture.
Okay.
Kuramamedov. Something like that.
Kuramamedov?
Something like that.
Yeah. Is it Karamagomedov?
No.
Karamagomedov, yeah.
This guy.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I was thinking of the other Magomedov from American Top Team.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that.
No. He's from
he's from
Extreme Couture.
This one's from Extreme Couture. Yes.
Yeah.
But you have Musaev now who can fight him. But look, that only works, John, as a super fight where you have those world-class fighters at the top to sell the ticket and then the tournament style fights below. That's the only way that I see this promotion being able to move forward and actually start to make a brand name for themselves.
Josh, think about it. You know, every I want to say just about every promotion, you know, the UFC started off with tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And then had to get away from them after it's like, well, you can't just have, well, yeah, he's my heavyweight tournament winner, and then this guy's going to be my super fight champion, but I don't have a real champion in the weight class. It was tough. You know, Bellator started off as tournaments.
Yeah.
You know, Strikeforce was more matched fights, didn't really get in, but had tournaments within it.
Yep.
Similar to the way that, you know, Scott brought in to Bellator.
Yep.
Which I like those kind of tournaments.
The one weight class, one tournament, like Scott had the 205 pound title, I think it was, or the 185 pound for Trevor was in it too. With Federico Vitali, Frank Trigg, and Trevor was in that tournament as well. George Santiago, I think, was in it, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, those tournaments make sense.
Yeah, but you look and you go, every promotion tends to start off with that tournament style, but eventually it'll hold you back. If you keep on, just putting into this like it's, well, this is my world champion, but I'm taking it away now that it's a new year because we're going to start a new search for the champion. No, you have the champion and he's right there and he wants or she wants to fight. That's what, but the only way they can do that is to go back into the tournament. And when they go back in the tournament, there's nothing there as, they're the champion. They're the former champion, or they're the 2024 tournament, or Whatever.
Yeah.
I keep on saying you're a tournament champion.
Yeah, I just think that if you're going to get rid of Bellator, bring those Bellator guys over either as PFL champions or make them fight the winners of these champions from the tournament to see who's the real champion in that weight class. I also think that there's nothing you can do unless you're going to lose these fighters. You've got to stop holding up 135 and 185. These guys got to be active. Look, you had Costello Van Steenis fought the first fight on the card. He looked absolutely amazing. Still one of my favorite fighters to watch. He's a dog. Him and Johnny Ebel would be a fun fight. It would just be a fun fight to me. Johnny may be able to get the win. Van Steenis is always exciting, but that's kind of the matchup that's coming up next, I think. And I know Impa said he'd like to get a rematch at him at 185 again. Who knows? Maybe that happens. But Musaev fighting the winner.
That was a nice head kick by.
Oh, it was nasty. It was nasty. Perfect time.
He's a nasty dude. Costello Van Steenis, again, he's one of those guys. He reminds me of a Carlos Condit. Fights in a way that, you know what? Stand up, he's just always trying to hurt you, hitting you with all these different elbows, knees, all these things, and he's got a mean streak in him.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
But when you see him on the street,
nicest guy in the world.
He's always smiling. He's always, hey, how are you? And just always, stop and talk every single time and have a full-on conversation with you and about what's next and how, asking about how the family is. He's a great guy. I love having a good conversation with him. Musaev's he's got a big future ahead of him. He's 30 years old though. So these are fighters like Ditcheva and Musaev. How are you guys going to keep them unless you're inspiring these fighters with some sort of what's at the top? What can you give me to make me at the top? Like, how can I get to that Bellator title or that, if you want to call it PFL title now, let's give me something outside the tournament. I've won the tournament. Sure, the money's great. I've won the tournament. Now give me something else. And so that's what they're looking for. They're always looking for that number one thing. And once you're the champion, you're the guy holding the one at the top that's always going to fight the tournament champion. That makes sense to them. Let me fight the number one, number two guy every single time to prove my worth. That makes sense. All right, next fight.
Rabadanov taking on Primus. This is one of those. This was two guys from Bellator that went into the PFL tournament, did very well throughout it. They matched up in the final one, but this is one of those. Looking at it, Rabadanov came from a wrestling background. Primus came from a wrestling background. Primus got the better submission game. He's an outstanding submission fighter. Rabadanov is the better stand-up fighter. His stand-up game has come a long ways. He throws beautiful combinations. He manages distance very well. And the big problem, in my opinion, going into this fight for Primus was Godzi's just way faster. He's got faster hands, faster feet. He's just a faster fighter, so it's tough. You got to put yourself in danger quite often to try to land something to counter what he's able to do. And it was, Brent took some big shots throughout that fight. He took a lot of big shots, and they just, after a while, they added up. And that was the end of the fight. But you got to give it, Godzi Rabadanov has continued to improve from the time that we've watched him. We know how good he is. His wrestling is outstanding, but his stand-up game has gotten really good at this point. And that was what won him the fight.
What's funny is when I would see him training and I see him work, I'm like, there's no way this guy's at 155. He's not a big guy.
He's not big, no.
But he's got fast hands. He's got a lot of power for being small.
Yeah.
He throws good, tight, clean combinations.
That's why he's got power.
And he can wrestle, but he chooses not to. He chooses to be a defensive wrestler. And you saw he got one of the first takedowns in the fight, maybe even the first takedown in the fight. He got the easy takedown from the top and then just kind of hung out from the top position the whole first round. But in that, he showed that I'm willing to go ahead and go to the ground with you while you're still dry. And as the fight carried on, just the speed, you could see the speed difference. I mean, I think in the beginning, I think that Rabadanov Godzi was a little, he was taken back. I think Brent's got some power in his hands.
Oh, there's no doubt.
A couple times
he's a big, strong guy.
Yeah, he is. He's a big frame body guy. He's got big shoulders, big back, all that. But Godzi, I think after he got hit a couple of times, like, oh, wow, there's a little bit more pop on your punches than I was going to give you credit for. Because you can tell that Brent has more of a clubbing type punch versus like Godzi's is like, when it hits you, it snap and it puts you to sleep. Rocks you, gets you in trouble, then he hits you with another one or two. But I thought overall, as the fight went on, Brent just had a hard time with the speed. The speed was always going to be the biggest problem. The ability to stuff takedowns or get takedowns was going to be a problem too, because Godzi can wrestle. He's a very good defensive wrestler, and the fast hands makes it more difficult to close that distance. So good work for Gotsy, man. Congratulations to another AKA brother, though, on the win. And man, Brent's such a good guy. Brent's such a good guy. Super nice guy. Just, always fun to be around. I've interviewed him. I've done a behind the scenes with him for the PFL. You guys can check it out. We did it for OnlyFans, and we did it also for we'll be doing some extra content too with Element as well. Next fight, Denis Goltsov versus Oleg Popov.
Yeah, really surprising as far as for me. I thought there was not a doubt in my mind Popov would end up taking Goltsov down. I thought, Goltsov has got a beautiful jab. He was utilizing that earlier, and Popov takes him down. But Josh, there comes that point when someone starts to throw their leg up and they push your arm through, you can't just hang out, because Goltsov ends up, locking, a figure four, but it's a loose figure four. Yeah. It's in the middle of his calf, and you look and you go, you got to move. Yeah. Don't just sit there. And Popov just seemed frozen. It was normally you see him turning. I don't know what it was, but he did not move in the fight. As far as once it hit the ground, he stayed in the position. And eventually, Goltsov locks up the fucking triangle and gets the win, chokes him unconscious. Beautiful job by Goltsov. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. But Popov it was a strange fight to watch a guy that we've seen on the ground that moves. He just hung out there.
Yeah, John, the takedown came so easy. And I think what it was like, okay, this is my personal opinion. I felt like he was so afraid to be on the feet with him because on how fast he shot, how much he panicked when he got in on the takedown. When the fight hit the ground, he's like, I'm not letting him up. I'm not letting him up. No matter what I do, I'm staying here. In moments like that, back out of the guard, come back in and re-enter. Or as he starts to get up, jump back on him, make him fight from that position, from the knees on the ground, whatever, turtle position.
Guys that are 6'7", guys that are 6'7" are not good at getting up off the ground. If you come up off of them and you decide to stand and keep pressure there and decide to come in with, kicks to the legs and then, punches to the head and jump in, it's not like he's going to just jump up, and get up. That's not going to happen. So you got some time. It's different than smaller guys. Smaller guys can just all of a sudden they look like they levitate right up. Well, John, big guys don't do that.
He was afraid to throw any punches too. He was afraid.
He didn't throw any punches.
He didn't throw. He just got the takedown and was hanging out there. Yeah, just hoping that the rounds would go by. I'm like, what are you gonna do when you have to start back up in the second round?
Exactly.
So overall, I was not impressed. I mean, good on Goltsov for getting the triangle.
Goltsov did what he was supposed to do.
Exactly what he was supposed to do. John, any other fights on here you wanted to talk about on the prelims?
I want to say that Barnaby looked really good against a good striker in Alfie Davis. He was able to get the submission with the rear naked choke in the third round. He looked good doing it.
Well, it was the elbows that did the work. So he got the elbows against the fence, beautiful elbows. Alfie looked lost out there. I was listening to the commentary, and they're like, oh, I think he's a little dazed. You think? He turned his back and kind of ran away towards the fence and then looked like he was confused. Then he got to the back real quick and then hooked and, shrugged the shoulder by, got the choke. Beautifully done by him. I thought the Jeremy Kennedy-Braga fight was a good fight. I thought Jeremy Kennedy won the fight. Could be wrong. Depends on how you viewed it. I know Kennedy was a lot of pressing against the fence, but not a lot of action. So I'm not mad either way on how they gave the fight. Jeremy Kennedy had a lot of pressure against the fence, kept re-entering, landed some good shots. Braga landed the harder shots, I would say, in round, in the first round, second round, a little bit here and there. Just there wasn't as much. There was so much pressure against the fence, a lot of wrestling, a lot of anti-grappling. So I'm not really mad how they went. I gave it to Kennedy, but I'm not mad they gave it to Braga.
Yeah. And another one, I think people, if you're into this sport, you got to watch Ajuj fight. He fights, he's from France. He fights out of Ireland because he's with SBG. But, man, he can fight. He's fun. He's getting better. His stand-up has always been really good, but his submission games come around. And he won by a guillotine choke. That's someone if you're a 145-pound fan, which you should be because the 145, 135s, 145s, and 155s, man, that's supreme fighting right there. This guy is really fun to watch. He's good. He's talented.
And if you guys get a chance, watch that head kick knockout, which you probably saw on Instagram by Costello Van Steen. It's still one of my favorite fighters to watch. He reminds me of myself when I was younger and just didn't really care. I was like, oh, I'm not going to get tired. And I always got tired and just fought kind of careless and reckless. All those fights you have before you get to the UFC. If you go back and watch my first fight in the UFC against Gerald Strebet, I felt like he fights that way. It doesn't matter what happens. He's always trying to hit you, always trying to kick you, always trying to punch you. And in that fight with Gerald Streetman, I was like, yeah, let me throw myself back into the guard. This is all you're good at. Let me just test this out and let me see. Let me punch you in the face. Let me elbow you. Almost got armbarred a couple times. Almost got omoplata instead of just backing out and saying, get back to the feet. Castello Vancinas just fight.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're, I'm not saying you're wrong as far as you almost, but that's not the way I saw it. And I was in there.
I was like, why do you keep jumping in this guy's guard? And he's funny. I went back and listened to the commentary. Rogan's like, man, this is crazy. Josh is not afraid of his guard at all. He's one of the best jiu-jitsu guys. And I was like,
I will tell you, you can sit there and say that you weren't afraid. No, and he never came close to getting anything on you. So.
He went to the omoplata, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It wasn't very close, but it was still. It was one of those things. Castello Vancinas fights. He fights without any care. Just comes out and just throws down. I love about him. He's fun fighter to watch. So keep watching him. I'd like to see him and Johnny Eblin get after it.
Yeah,
it'd be a good fight. All right, go ahead, George. Let's jump into some fan questions. Before we do that, though, make sure you guys subscribe to us over at OnlyFans. I want to thank you guys so much for supporting us on all these other platforms. But it's for sure on OnlyFans. Subscribe us there. It is free. And like I said, if you guys subscribe to us, you will not see any other smut on there unless you guys subscribe to that.
Unless you want it.
You've got Demetrius Johnson. You've got Stipe. You've got Nick Diaz. You've got Luke Rockhold. You've got AJ McKee. You've got Chris Cyborg. You've got all these other fighters that are on. You got pro surfers, Formula One racers. You've got skateboarders. You've got every type of extreme sports athlete. They are on there now. The platform is there. We have helped create that sports division for them or with them. I guess you could say, like I said, we were the very first podcast that they ever worked with and sponsored. And we have continued this partnership with them for a little over 2.5 years. It's been a great relationship. We love working with them. They're a great company. Like I said, if you guys follow and subscribe to us there, we appreciate you guys. We do our live show on there as well. Do a separate live show to get some extra fan questions. We do once a month. Sometimes I'll throw a second one in there throughout the month. But hey, extra content available. And like I said, we're trying to do something for John's refereeing clinics on there. We're just trying to get it worked out with OnlyFans because you're only allowed to pay a certain amount of money. They don't let you charge too much, and John charges too much. And so we're trying to get that portion of it all figured out. And make sure you guys hit that link down below for LMNT. I love the product. Okay, it helps me sleep at night, gets me stay salty, but I also I've been working out now in the mornings with my son being home all week from vacation for Thanksgiving. So we've been getting our workouts in the morning, a little bit of LMNT afterwards for recovery has been fantastic. So check them out. And of course, BetUS. The show is brought to you by BetUS. I want to thank them so much for continuing to support us. And look, man, we've had some good luck with them on the betting odds. So make sure you guys continue to look and take our advice or not take our advice. We've been helping people make some money over at BetUS. YouTube 150 is the promo code. YouTube 150 is the promo code. George, go ahead. Let's go jump right into the fan questions, buddy.
All right, let's go to our
Did you
first.
scan these first? Make sure there's no like weird, funky words in there before like.
Yes, I did. I'm
Okay.
sure you went through it.
Like Mr. Cumshot or something like.
Oh, that's all right.
That's what I commented. We got to keep that in.
The drizzle.
All right. First question from Ozman Mark. It's been 3 years since Josh promised me he'd sort out selling merch outside of the U.S. again. What's going on, Josh?
I'm trying, man. I'm having troubles even getting some of our old product up onto this website. So it's at weighingandmerch.com. You guys can pick up some of our apparel. Also to our giveaway for the month of November. If you guys can post it. I know it was the month of November. If you guys post something in this first week of December, I will send you a box of LMNT. If you guys show me that you were bought a shirt with the receipt and you're wearing it in your in a photo and post it, send it to me in my DMs at The Real Punk, I will send you over a box of LMNT. All right. And look, I'm working on them. That's all I can say. Nothing I can do. It's been a back and forth battle.
And it's a battle.
Yes.
Well, speaking of LMNT, AMP3158. Hey, Josh, where's my LMNT? I have all the shirts and hats. By the way,
shirts.
Where's the new ones at?
Yeah,
it's
she
me,
bought all
Andrea.
the shirts. I'm like, well, you already bought them all. This was a November giveaway. So, but you know what? I've got to get her some LMNT. She pretty much owns every single shirt we've ever put out. So I owe you a box of LMNT.
Oh,
so
damn.
You're gonna have to hit me up. I think it's Andrea, right? Inside my comments, AMP is Andrea. Yeah, hit me up in my DMs, and I will get your address and send you over a box for sure. Go ahead.
All right. So let's go back to Ozman Mark. I'm starting with these guys because they are channel members. They get exclusive dibs to the first question. So
Exclusive dibs.
Appreciate you subscribing. Want to thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Let's go.
all right. With the recent tragic death of a Canadian MMA fighter after his first fight, what do you think should be the minimum experience before stepping into the ring/cage? For first fights, apart from calling them a lot earlier, most treating them like smoker fights, or almost treating them like smoker fights. What can be done to protect the fighters?
Get rid of Justin Trudeau. That'd be first. Okay, go on. Next part.
Damn, that was a good one. I like that. That's true.
John,
Look, here, this is a multiple answers to it. As far as Josh owned a gym, I owned a gym, and Josh's was a little bit different. I did have some fighters out of mine. Josh tried to stay away from that because he was smart. But Josh was in the same position as I was. Is I would not let people fight until I knew that they could fight. I don't care what they wanted. And I can't stop them as a person from going into an amateur organization or an amateur show and wanting to fight, or going to the state of, wherever they live, California, Texas, New York, and getting licensed as a professional. That you got to figure that the state athletic commissions, they're not really looking at someone's record as far as, what experience do you have? All these different things, they're going to sell them a license. That's really what it is. And that's one of the things I always say with the difference between boxing, MMA, and sports like football and baseball and basketball. You get verified as a professional when you make an NFL team. You get verified as a professional when you make an NBA team. You get verified as a professional when you are, even in the minors. As a baseball player, you're still getting paid. Okay, you're professional, but you haven't made the big show. But you make the big show, you've been verified. Fighting is different. Unfortunately, you can have people become professionals and say, "I'm a professional fighter," when they can't fight for shit. They're bad. They're not even close to being someone that I would put in an amateur show at that time. But they can pay for the license, pass the medicals, and they can be put into a fight. Now they're going to be put into a fight with another, 0-0 fighter, but that 0-0 fighter might have had, quite a few amateur fights, has been trained well, can actually fight, and they're going to get the shit beat out of them by that fighter. There's not a whole lot you can do. The thing to realize is this, and I say it all the time. I had someone talking to me about it just the other day of, he was talking about how tough rugby was. And I says, yeah, you can play rugby. And he goes, well, it's the same as MMA, it's contact. And I go, no, you don't play MMA. You play football. Football is a tough sport, but you play football. You don't play fighting. There's no play involved. It's dangerous. It's unhealthy. I'm just going to, say, it doesn't mean that when you do it, it's going to be unhealthy for you. But many times, even if you're the winner, it's unhealthy, and you're the loser, it's really unhealthy because your body is getting beat. And you're accepting damage that is sometimes it's not going to you're never going to come back to that 100%. So it's on everybody. It's on the fight, the person themselves. It's definitely on wherever they're training and the people that are responsible for the fighters there, be it the coaches or the owners of the gyms telling them, hey, you're not ready. I'm not, you cannot go and use our gym's name if you're going to fight, because I'm telling you, you're not ready. You're not going to fight under my name. And then it's also incumbent upon, the actual promoters. They're the ones putting on the fights. Sometimes they know exactly what they're doing and they need to be better about it.
Yeah. It really comes down to, there's so many different ways that a fighter can just show up to a commission or talk to a promoter and be like, yeah, I've got experience. That promoter never checks to see. And then they go and get licensed at the weigh-in, hey, I need to get licensed. The commission licenses it. Say, hey, what's your record? They make up some record. Well, we weren't able to pull it up. Well, because I fought before, or I fought in these smaller organizations that, no one has the video footage, whatever it is.
And you can get those, Josh, because you fought on the show. Strikeforce's first show ever was the main event was Frank Shamrock
I wasn't going to
against
bring it up. I'm glad you did.
Cesar Gracie.
Yeah.
You know, trust me, I got in all kinds of trouble based upon telling someone I will not go referee that fight. I said, that's not a fight. I said, no disrespect. I love Cesar Gracie. He's a great guy. He's a grappler. He has never been in a fight. They said, well, you know, he's 14-0 in fights. I go, no, that's a made up record. Okay. That is bullshit. He has never fought. I'm telling you, he has not fought an actual regulated fight. He's maybe had a dojo fight. Okay. That's not fighting. And so, you know, like I said, I got in trouble for that. This is the first time I didn't work a UFC's main event because in California, the Strike Force was in California and the next UFC. And so all kinds of stuff happened off of it. But, you know, sometimes they won't listen even when you're trying to tell them the truth too.
Yeah, that's true. Next question.
All right, we got Noma 720. This might be long-winded, but I'm very curious. With ONE FC seemingly getting out of MMA and focusing on Muay Thai, and PFL having their issues, it seems that if there's an opening for someone to make an impact, my question is, do you think the GFL has a realistic potential to be a true number 2 MMA organization that can sort of rival the UFC? The Global Fight League has its own unique twist with teams and draft formats. Any insight to share?
That's unique.
It's been done.
Yeah, it's been done. It's called the IFL, International Fight League. Okay. Just, you see, and this is what, again, let's rehash something that failed. So what do I think is going to happen with the GFL? Same thing.
Look, I do, but to go back to the beginning portion of that, there is an opportunity right now for a promotion to slide in and kind of be the clear-cut number 2. Because I think one is kind of like you said, focusing on other things. And the PFL has a lot of kinks to work out. I think they're still the clear-cut number 2, but it just really depends on what they decide to do from here. They're hemorrhaging money right now. They're spending money. I don't know what and I'm going to continue to say this. I think that they are executive heavy. They have too many executives with their hand in the pot. They need to use some of that money and focus on helping get people underneath a Mike Kogan and working with Michael Johnson and those guys, you know, the guys that can help get people working with the fighters. They need more input on that. They do a great job on their social media. I love what they do on their social media.
They do a great job.
One area they don't need help on. They do a great job there. You know, they've. I just think that they're too executive heavy. They got too many hands in the pot. A lot of money's going out the door to pay those guys. You know, whatever it is their job is, and they need to focus on doing more that brings in more eyeballs to them. What helps promote their fighters. And I don't know. Outside of that, like focus on what you're good at. And I think that there is something there to salvage. You have the tournament format, make it $100,000, and the winner of that tournament now fights, you know, the number 2 or number 3 guy in the PFL or Bellator, whatever you want to call it. I think it all goes to PFL. It should. And then, you know, you have your Bellator champions now just become PFL champions. And then now there's super fights above the tournament format fights. I mean, that's what you're pretty much doing now. This whole Mina thing and all the other stuff. I'm sorry, but I literally didn't realize that the Mina thing was just the prelims to the fight when I was watching. I had to go back and watch it on ESPN because I was like, okay, where's the prelims at? And then it just said Mina. And I was like, oh, it just didn't. It's so confusing. Make it simple. Prelim fights, main card fights. That's what people John's age, okay, are never going to figure out that Mina was prelims. They're like, oh, what is this Mina thing? Like, I'm good. I'll just watch this one because I recognize the faces on the poster. That's it. Like that. So you got to make it as simple as possible. And they can't seem to wrap their heads around that. So I think that there is an opportunity for a promotion to slide in and actually make some waves. Yes. But let me ask you, John and I have talked about this before. I've talked about this with 3 other managers as of recently. But what are you going to do? If you're just going to come in and put on fights, that's cool. You're going to come in and put on fights. You're never going to, don't try to say that you're going to compete with the UFC. Just stop. Okay. That's one. Is if you're going to come in and put on fights, what is your gimmick? Like what, not gimmick, but what is give me a game plan on what you're going to do. I don't think that doing a draft and doing team stuff, I don't think that works. I think tournaments, I think they're fun. But I think there's a time for them when you need them. And I think they also have to have some excitement around how they kind of did the 145-pound Division I in Bellator, where they all picked a number and they picked where they wanted to fight. I want to fight in Hawaii. I want to fight in LA. I want to fight, and then whoever picked number 6 through 12 ended up being the people they picked who their opponent was. So the first person got to pick location. Second person got to pick, who they wanted to fight. That made more sense. I mean, that was kind of a fun little gimmick thing that they did.
Yeah, the promoter had no say in who was matched against who.
Absolutely. That worked out, I thought,
Kinda
perfectly.
cool.
And it was all live, done on TV. It was a nice thing. It was cool. There was some excitement around it, all that stuff. I thought it was a cool thing. Outside of that, but that was a weight class that needed it. I think we don't need to force a tournament every year. There's sometimes you have a weight class that has great talent in it. They signed.
Hold on. It's there for them. There's 2 weight classes. Do a 135 tournament or do a 185-pound tournament. You've got those right there. Put new fucking life into those.
Okay, so I agree with you, but the problem is, John, we just did those tournaments. We just did the 135-pound tournament.
No.
We just did
If you're the PFL, do a 135-pound tournament.
Oh, I get what you're saying. I know, but like what I'm saying though is that now you're just going to basically regurgitate what the Bellator just did a year ago. They just did Rafian Stotts and Magomedov and Patchy Mix, and they just did that. So unless they were able to sign some new talent, I got to be honest, I have no desire to see the tournament again. I mean, I don't get me wrong, they're all great fighters, but I've seen the Danny Sabatello, I've seen the Patchy. I want to see Patchy Mix fight new fresh blood. He made a lot of those fights look easy, controlled, and he fought a fantastic fight. Johnny Eblin, 185 pounds. You want to do a tournament there? You can go right ahead and do it. They can do that there, but I think they need to add those weight classes into their tournament stuff. But look, there is room there though for some growth of another promotion to step in. They have to have something that if you're just going to put on fights to be a feeder into the UFC, cool. That's what you're going to be. If you're going to put on fights and trying to compete, you better come with a big wad of cash, hundreds of millions of dollars, 100 million, 2 million, you got 200 million. You got to be somewhere in that mix, around that 50 to 100 million just to even get started. Yeah. And just remember, you're never going to get anywhere unless you have a TV deal. You've got to have some sort of TV deal to make any type of waves, to get any top level fighters to sign with you. You need to have a TV deal. Doesn't have to be a big one, just has to be one. So, all right, next question.
All right. Well, speaking of all these wonderful champions, T. Perry 21. Hey guys, with Kai Asakara getting an immediate title shot upon his debut, I was wondering if you thought it would be possible for some of the PFL champs with bigger names such as Usman, Elbin, or Mix to also get an
PFL-ator.
PFL. Yeah. Do you think any of the other champs could get an immediate title shot, or would they have to have like a bigger win streak intact before coming in?
I've heard through the grapevine that Usman would pretty much probably get an automatic guaranteed title shot only when Islam vacates. It was a vacant title shot, it'd probably be a vacant, or he'd come in and fight one fight and then fight for a title. The other one is Patchy Mix. I think there'd be a good chance that he could come in and get an automatic title shot. He's looked so dominant. The thing that helps him though is that there's word all around every gym, every organization, every fighter talks about how good Patchy Mix is. He grapples with some of the best guys in the world, like world-class guys. He's jumping into jiu-jitsu tournaments, grappling tournaments, choking these black belts out, making it look easy. He's a fantastic fighter as well. He's gotten better on the feet. He's more composed. He's right in the middle of his prime. He knows how good he is. He's the Vegas guy that they can look. We know where you're at. It's very easy for them.
And trust me, his girlfriend's Tatiana Suarez. He's training over at the UFC PI all the time too. So UFC knows exactly.
They know exactly who he is. So I believe that they would give him an automatic title shot, or maybe have him fight one fight to get the title shot. But I think for him, they'd probably work him right into a title shot, to be honest. Especially if he looks impressive his next couple fights. And look, let's be honest. His fight against Magomedov, his first fight, he tapped him out or choked him out unconscious. Second fight, it was a tougher fight, but that's to be expected against someone like a Magomedov who makes adjustments. He can wrestle, he can grapple, he's got spinning attacks. He's beaten Peter Yan and lost to Peter Yan. It's not like he was some chump. He can fight everywhere, that guy. So that guy's another guy that I could see sliding into the 135-pound weight class into the UFC and making some waves. So I think Patchy would probably get in there. Johnny Eblen, I don't think so. I think if Johnny was to come in, they would put Johnny somewhere in that Marvin Vettori fight. They wouldn't give him an automatic title shot. His fight against Impa Kasanganay really hurt him. He didn't look great. He's got to come out. His fight against Fabian Edwards recently didn't look great. He's a good fighter. He's talented all around. He can grind on you. He can hang on you. I mean, he's beat Gegard Mousasi. He's beat everyone they put in front of him. The thing with him is that he doesn't have one crunch knockout power, even though he's finished guys, but he can wrestle, he can grind submission wise. It's just that he's lacking that one thing. He does everything really well. He's a very dangerous fighter everywhere. The UFC doesn't like those kind of fighters. They want to see you like a Poetan knocking dudes out, okay? Or they want to see you being the best jiu-jitsu guy in the world and just subbing guys. They want finishes. Yeah. And Johnny's lacked a couple of those. He's got some knockout power. He does. He's had some knockouts on his record. But his last two fights kind of hurt him, I believe. The Impa and the Fabian Edwards fight kind of hurt him.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next question. Jonathan, HRUSA 8054. How does Islam and Shavkat match up? Assuming Shavkat wins the belt and Islam will challenge him. How do you think that
I don't really speak in what ifs. Like, this is not one of those fights. Like, there's so much that need to happen, for that fight to happen. I couldn't say how they match up. And look, the verdict for me on Shavkat is still out, John. I know he's undefeated. I know he's a talented fighter, but I'm still not. I'm in that Chimaev thing right now. I haven't seen enough of him. I wasn't overly impressed with his Jeff Neal fight. He looked good.
Okay, hold on. That doesn't make sense to me because that was fight of the year. So you had to be impressed.
No.
Because it was why? Because Jeff Neal did well in certain times?
Yes. That's my thing. It's like you have a guy who was ranked number 8 or something, wasn't ranked very high, and Shavkat wasn't ranked high.
But Jeff Neal hits like a truck.
You're right, he does.
And so when you get hit really hard by someone, it kind of alters your.
Well, when the fight is close and it can be considered a little sloppy. That's what normally wins fight of the year, correct? A Yuri and a Glover, like it means that there's a lot of holes still in the game.
Yeah,
so, look, I'm impressed with him. I know that he's good. I'm not saying that.
Oh yeah,
I'm just saying that I still need to see a little bit more. And I know everyone's gonna be. I know I'm gonna get bagged on in the comments. What else you need to see? He's undefeated, dude. I look at the technique.
Well, he's not only undefeated.
Yeah,
he's never gone the distance.
Never gone the distance.
He stopped everybody.
Okay.
His own team calls him the boogeyman.
Yes,
because he's a problem for everybody.
Because he's good everywhere.
Yeah, but he's not. He is exactly what you're saying with Johnny Eblen.
Yes,
he's good everywhere. He's not the greatest wrestler. He's not the greatest striker because you can't be. But he's good everywhere. So he creates the problem. The same thing I say all the time. He brings a large toolbox to the cage, so he can wherever the fight goes, he can handle it there, and he can do well. He may not be the best striker in the world, but he can definitely get it done on the feet. He may not be the greatest grappler in the world, but man, if he takes you down, he's going to be a bear for you to get rid of. So, he is good, and he's good. I know you're not saying
no. I'm not trying
that he's not.
I'm not trying to poke fun. I'm not saying he's not good,
but. When you sit there and you say, well, there's still, still some questions. There's always going to be questions until that person comes out that answers those questions. Because it's going to be tough for him to do it in the fact, unless he runs through everyone. And you can't ask anything more from the guy than what he's done. Yeah. He has stopped every fighter that has entered the cage with him. That's pretty impressive.
I agree. But here's the thing is, John, I'm like looking at Ian Gary and I'm going, Ian Gary has kind of what may be a problem for him. It's the fast twitch muscle and the feints and the way he jabs clean. Like he's got the straight shots that come down, whereas Shavkat's not as straight of a striker as him. It's and like I said, the Jeff Neal fight. I look at that fight and I go, all right, well, like. Shavkat, it was a good fight. I felt like he was dominant, but it wasn't like it was a clean fight. There was a lot of mistakes in that fight.
You could take a look, Jeff Neal is a perfect person. You can't sit there and say because fighter A beat fighter B.
No.
But both of those guys, Ian Gary and Shavkat, have faced Jeff Neal. And you take a look at, their performances against Jeff Neal, neither guy had an easy time with Jeff Neal. They both had, some hard moments. But if you're going to be honest and look, Ian Gary didn't get rid of Jeff Neal. It went to a decision. Shavkat was able to get rid of him, but Ian Gary actually looked better against Jeff Neal through a lot of the fight as far as his ability to handle Jeff Neal and, outbox him, make him, have problems with exactly what you're talking about, the speed. And I think I've said it, if Ian Gary, wins this fight, it's because he's going to utilize his speed, keep the fight at a distance, and pick Shavkat apart at distance. Sure. He's not going to get into the grappling situations. He's not going to do what he did with MVP because he's Shavkat's a different fighter. And look, you could not like Ian Gary. That's okay. I like him. I think he's fucking good. And I think he's very smart. He's not a dumb person. He knows this is what's going to get me, to where I want to be against this fighter. And he goes out and he executes game plans. That's a good fighter.
Yep. He's got to have good fight IQ. Okay, 2 more, George.
Whoa, 2 more. Why are you putting these limits on me, bro?
All right, 12 more, George.
Yeah, 1,500 questions.
I put limits on all my women. I'm sorry.
I was scrolling through. Let's go with
he's lost now. You got him. We've got him on the ropes. Totally flustered.
Let's go with Tyrone _P21. It's a very long-winded question, but which fighter whose base started in wrestling and grappling would you guys say have developed the best and most refined striking skills?
That's currently fighting?
Yeah. He lists some examples. Cody Garbrandt, Woodley, Umar, Gilbert, Gaethje, Dom Cruz, all started in wrestling or grappling.
I'm going to go with one of my teammates, man, who I thought ended up becoming a really good striker, would be Josh Koscheck. I mean, he had a head kick knockout. His striking was good. As he got older, he slowed down a little bit. After the GSP fight, he wasn't the same. But leading up to that fight, man, his striking got to be pretty good, and his wrestling was always phenomenal. Phenomenal. So, I mean, I'm giving him as an older example. In terms of current ones, John, I can't come up with anyone right off the top of my head. Obviously, I would say, I don't know. I wouldn't even say that because I was always thinking GSP started off as wrestling. He was all striking.
No, he was all striking.
Give me someone currently that was. Oh, BJ Penn ended up being a phenomenal striker. He had no striking when he came to AK. None. Just street fights. Let me just throw hands.
I would tell you Kamaru Usman is up there as one of the better ones right now. If you go back and you watch Kamaru when he was a younger fighter, it was all wrestling, all ground and pound, all maul. He just mauled people. And then, he got good with his hands through Henry Hooft. He improved his hands with Trevor Whitman. He became a guy that had power. You take a look at some of the knockouts that he had and the way that he was utilizing his stand-up. It was fantastic. A guy that doesn't get the credit as far as being a wrestler, but has always been a guy with the knockout. But Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler was a wrestler.
Yeah.
And just he liked to swing his hands. And he could do it very well, and he had heavy ones. So, he would be a guy you looked at and said, he started off with wrestling, but basically throughout his career, everything was about just throwing hands. He didn't want to wrestle.
I would even lean I'd probably even lean towards Randy Couture. He had a very good idea with dirty boxing. That's still hands. That's still stand up.
But that's his wrestling. And you're right.
Yeah.
He merged those things,
yeah.
And that's the whole thing, by taking and merging the wrestling with the striking, his dirty boxing. Look, it's hard to understand. Everyone looks, a single collar tie or, half a Muay type. People are, it's easy to get out of until you go against that guy that it's not. And I will tell you right now, it ain't easy to get away from Randy Couture when he would get a single collar tie on you. He was Velcro, and it didn't, you could just shove him away and try to move him, and he just kind of stuck. He'd bounce and he'd stick with you. And he just was able to outwork people in the clinch and make them have to work harder than he was working. And his dirty boxing inside was beautiful based upon it. So yeah, that is a form of striking, and he made it work for his style.
If you go back and watch the Barnawi versus Alfie Davis fight, A lot of the clinch, the one arm clinch and the elbows over the top and the uppercuts, but mainly the elbows over the top. He has that long reach, man. There was moments where he was fully extended with just the one arm clinch and was like pulling Alfie Davis back to him just so he could elbow him or hit him with a shot.
True.
Very impressive. Very good work. What's the second part of that question? You said it was long.
No, it was just he was just listed a lot of examples.
Oh, okay. Next one. Last
A lot
one.
of opinion. Let me go back to it now. If Mr. Johnny Bones retires, this is from Kevin. If Mr. Johnny Bones retires, who would Aspinall fight next? Francis left as champ, so could the same thing happen for Tom?
No.
I mean, same thing happened for Tom. Is Tom's going to retire?
No, Tom would leave. No, he's talking about Francis Ngannou was able to leave when he was the champ. So much stuff has to happen for that to happen. The time frame of him not being fought, that Francis situation. He was given the one fight, but there was so much time before that last fight that he didn't fight, that they should have fought him. They basically told him like, okay, we'll work out another deal. Never did the next deal. Francis wanted, so much. They basically were able to walk out of their deal, which was unheard of, in the current year UFC era. But do I think it'll happen? No, Tom Aspinall will stay there and collect as many checks as he possibly can. There's nowhere else for him to go. It's going to pay him the amount of money he's going to make as a champion in the UFC.
And let's be honest. When you take a look at competition, there's really even not a lot of competition for Tom Aspinall in the UFC. There's no competition besides Francis outside of it. And Francis is getting older. Tom's still young. Tom's got a hell of a career ahead of him. If John doesn't fight Tom, it's not going to be. It's not the end of the world for John. It's not the end of the world for Tom. They're just going to be going in two different directions.
So who would that next fighter be for Tom, if not John? Who would you think?
It's probably going to be someone like, to be honest, probably like a Curtis Blades or a Cyril Gahn. I mean, I know
definitely not Curtis, because Curtis fought him twice.
They fought him twice already, but I'm saying like you're in that mix again already. Volkov's been looking pretty good as of lately.
Yeah, Volkov's a terrible matchup for him.
I know this, but John, bear with me, man. I'm trying to make something out of nothing here. Okay?
If you and it really, it's this is what I'm talking about. You got guys like Jelton Almeida, who is he's good in one area, but he's gonna have a hard time on the feet with Aspinall, and on the ground, Aspinall is gonna match up, fairly well with him. It's just, man, heavyweights. There's just not that many. All the good big athletes, go to the sports that pay them the most money. And MMA is not that sport. Now, it can get to the point where you're making a lot of money off of, but, and it's not in the beginning. And you look at the athletes that are in the NFL, they got some big, really good athletes. Now, that doesn't mean they can fight, but if those guys, instead of playing football, were training as fighters, they would be pretty goddamn good fighters, but we've really seen from the NFL, we've seen some players come out of the NFL and fight, but they're older. They've gone through a lot of, time with the NFL, some damage with the NFL, and they've come into MMA and they're trying to catch up. You're an older fighter already, but there's been, Mitrione actually made a good career out of it.
Yeah.
You had some good fights. You can look at Greg, and that really didn't work out. The UFC tried. Mm-hmm. They tried to make it work. It's just, he wasn't meant to fight.
No,
it wasn't his thing.
Give us one more there, George.
Okay, let me go back to him now that you put this limit on me. Man,
you're just killing me, brother.
How about let's go with this one? I like this one from Rob M80. Hey fellas, questions for you both. Prime Rockhold versus Prime Izzy. Who do you got?
Rockhold.
Yeah, Prime. If I would have got the Prime, like
Prime.
Tim Kennedy, Jacare Souza, Chris Weidman. Yeah. If I would have got that Luke Rockhold, I'd say that Luke Rockhold.
Only because he had, again, a bigger toolbox, more skills to. I'm not saying that Izzy wasn't better on the feet. Izzy's better on the feet than Luke. But Luke could hold his own for a lot of it. And Luke's wrestling was actually way better than people realize. And his fucking ground game is way better than people ever gave him credit for. Luke Rockhold at one point, when Luke Rockhold was in Strikeforce, and like Josh was just talking, fighting Tim Kennedy, fighting Jacare, look, he beat Tim Kennedy is a good fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tough dude, and you take a look at the fights, and Luke just basically dominated a good fighter in those fights for the most part.
Yeah,
and at a certain point, he was confident. He could take a shot. Back then he'd get hit by a good shot, it wouldn't affect him. Later on, it started to affect him. Izzy, I think, has had the longer, better career, but in their primes, and that's it's a completely different aspect. I think I would go with Rockhold.
Yeah, I would too. I think because Izzy would have had a hard time. I shouldn't say hard time. It would have given him a little bit of issues, the long reach, the way that Luke kind of threw the head kicks, the way Luke threw like stuff to help set up his takedowns, the grappling.
Well, at least Luke was of the size of Izzy.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like the John Jones and the Gus fight, like that type of stuff, like having to deal with someone that you're not used to dealing with that's normally your size, the length, the reach, all those things. Luke his body style was tall, long, and lanky. And I think it's been proven over and over again that body style, man, works for the sport. Gives people problems. They don't know how to deal with it. You don't know. You go back to the Tyler Santos and Ditcheva fight. It was the reach,
That's
the
exactly
tight
it.
knees.
Yeah.
She
couldn't get into her.
Yeah, she just like, hey, what do I do now? I've tried everything. I can't do this. Next thing you know, she's fighting off the back foot, just getting hit with knees to the body and then the body shots and everything. It was textbook, beautifully done. All right, hey guys, was there another part to that question or no?
No, that was it.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up our show today. Hey, this show is brought to you by BetUS. Make sure you guys, YouTube 150 is the promo code. YouTube 150 is the promo code. Check it out. And also Element down below in the descriptions. They will send you a bonus package with every purchase through that link in our descriptions there. And obviously, look, I'm repping it today right now. OnlyFans. I got the OnlyFans sweater. It's a little fuzzy. It's a little fuzzy, like a little velvety. You like that, John?
Oh, very nice. You're rubbing your nipple. I know what you're doing.
Yes, I am. Make sure you guys subscribe to us there. It is free. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. And John, take us away, bud.
Hey, for everyone out there, I hope you have had a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. I hope you were able to spend it with family. We are looking forward to the UFC coming up, the pay-per-view. It should be fantastic. We're going to be talking about that, and we will see you on Tuesday.